Nick's gonna fucking turn me upside down if I'm not ready. Oh shit, we're up and running, brother. What's
all right?
No back.
No back. Okay. Hey everybody, hope you're having a great day. Welcome to Elite Ageless Mindset. I am Nick Best, and this is Jon Andersen. And here we are. It's another Sunday with another live stream, and
that's it.
Here we are.
We're here to basically talk to you guys about how we do it, because we've been doing it for over 40 years apiece. So between the two of us, shit, we're closing the door on almost 90 years of experience here, brother. Yeah, true. I know that sounds crazy, but here's the thing. It's not easy, but we found ways to make it easier. And that's what we want to share with you guys. So, and that being said, talk about easy. Obviously, every week we're here for this live stream, but for those of you that are looking to, you know, I guess those of you wanting to get in, start getting down and dirty, we've created a very, very simple, straightforward, but most importantly, affordable group coaching scenario. So if you want to check that out, it's in the link below, and you get you get a 7-day free trial to make sure it's a good fit for you. So
good catch.
That being said, what's that?
Good catch.
Because honestly, if you don't want to get big, strong, and stay lean, then this may not be for you, because that's what we represent. You know, sometimes people come to me and say, look, I don't care about being lean. I just want to get big and strong. Well, you don't need me for that. You know, you can do that on your own. Anybody can just keep eating, you know, anyway. So that being said, we are going to talk about basically focusing on the things that we can control, because a lot of times shit happens to us. And Nick's going to tell a story here in a momento, which happened basically shortly after we saw you guys last, but is totally out of his control. And if we end up getting, I guess you'd say, it's distracted or caught up with shit we can't control, it really, really screws up our lives, really screws up our focuses. So, Nick, what happened shortly after we were on the live stream last week?
Well, someone liberated my truck that I just bought in Sacramento, California. So
real quick, let me jump in real quick. A nice, big, fat diesel truck, a big old gnarly truck. We're not talking about a little pinner. We're talking about the big boy, you know?
Yeah, it was a Ford F-350 crew cab dually with the 8-foot bed.
There's one that says, "There's nothing else you can do to me."
Right. So, come out in the morning of the hotel, go down there. I'm like, where did my truck go? And I go in to ask if a truck's been towed or anything was wrong. And the hotel was like, no, nothing's wrong. So I'm like, so my truck got stolen. And, you know, it's a very nerve-wracking thing when you come out and your vehicle's not there. But I can't control that. So I went through the processes that you need to go through to find out for sure for the hotel, ask them if they have cameras, which they'll lie to you and tell you no, because you're not allowed to look at them through privacy issues.
Oh, no shit. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Which,
interesting.
You find this out later. But they kind of lie to you when they tell you.
That's good to know, everybody. So if you ask to look at their cameras, they're going to say they don't have them or they're not working because it's a privacy thing. That's what goodness. I guess we learned something outside of training and nutrition and mindset today.
Yeah. So they called the Sacramento police. I had to get the police a whole bunch of information, the VIN number, all those things from the vehicle. Then they came out, filled the report, went through everything. They went in and looked at the cameras, got the time and everything else, then went back and looked at the street cameras that are in the area, and then they follow kind of as best they can where the truck headed towards, and they go out and start looking for your vehicle. But you can't control that, and
no,
you're going to be upset. But just understand, for whatever reason, because I bought my Mini, 6-7 years ago. And because of that, you have to get full coverage insurance to help pay for the loan. So if something happens, it'll pay off the loan and you're fine. Well, they're like, you want the same one as your Mini? I'm like, yeah, go ahead. The truck was paid off. I bought it outright. So I didn't need full coverage, but I got it anyway. And it turns out that was a good thing, because after Colin Bryce, of all people, walks up to me, he was like, "What happened, mate?" I'm like, "Well, somebody wanted my truck more than I did, and they took it." And he's just like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, okay. Well, I've had that happen to me, and you got full coverage insurance, right?" And I goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Relax." I was
Yeah.
like,
They probably give
he
you
goes,
more than what you paid for it, because
well,
those vehicles hold their value. And I heard
yeah,
from little Birdie that you had someone to help you negotiate the price down.
I did. He did a very good job of that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so they're going to go through that. They're going to get straightened out. He goes, "Look, you're going to fill out the paperwork. You're going to go through the process and everything. You're going to get reimbursed for it, and just go find another one." I was like, "Okay." And he goes, "And then when you get it, just install a kill switch and a shut off mechanism into the alarm system. I mean, and do that first, and then do the rest of the stuff you're going to do on the truck." I was like, "Good
But the
advice."
bottom
And
line is that this thing happened, and
mhm,
there's too many people. I'm going to let Nick keep talking, but there's too many people
mhm,
right at that point. Oh my God, my truck's gone, it got stolen, and they run to a vice. They run to,
mhm, yep,
eating bad food. They run to, I'm going to call in sick for work. They disengage from their life. They disengage from what they're supposed to be doing. And that makes the problem
mhm,
worse. And it's
yeah,
something that we can't control. So we got to remember the thing that I always remind myself is that the problem comes in is if you let it become bigger because of your choices after the problem. That's the
yes.
real problem.
So I made some very good choices after that, and I had some really good people around me. And if you keep your head and just realize everything's going to be okay, let's just get through this process step by step, it allows other people around you to help you in a much better way. And
Mhm.
the police, I was nice to the police. I didn't like lose my mind or anything at the police. The front desk, I did make a few less than happy comments, like, "So we're paying $35 a night for a parking spot that has no security." Got it. Not
Well,
real
you were
happy
also
about that.
caught up
Yeah,
in the moment though too. You know what I mean?
right.
You wouldn't
But
have
it's
said that the next day.
no. And so, but I still kept it about just how I said it.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
wasn't like I'm like and trying to
Respectful.
intimidate. Right, trying to intimidate anybody. I just pointed out something I'm not very happy with. Um, and a lacking in their policy or in their protection of your vehicle. But at the end of the day, kept my head, and it made it really easy for other people to help. I Ben came out, and he came back and picked me up and spent the day with Ben, spent the day with Gabby, and we got all the
Ben
things
is our
straight.
Wizard of Oz. He's the guy behind the
Yeah,
curtain. He's the one that makes all this work.
yeah, yeah. Oh boy, does he! This isn't happening without Ben, because neither one of us
No,
are this tech savvy,
no.
or program savvy or anything else. Yeah, so it's just kind of, you allowed the people that were going to be there to help you, and it just made it all
Hmm.
real smooth. It really did.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I
And
just
here's the thing.
controlled
This is
what
just
I could control.
100%. And this is symbolic. Like, this is a pretty big one, right? Holding it together to that, it was a challenge. But let's think about other little things, like, people wake up late and that sets
Yeah,
them in a downward spiral.
yeah.
They get in bad traffic that sends them. And there's just so many
Oh yeah,
things that can happen. Now, granted, waking up late, you could argue that's in your control, but either way, it happened. The point is that
right.
once something happens, not let it happen, not let it get worse. you know.
Yes,
So,
and that's where a lot of people go wrong. And I
mhm.
mean, a lot of people go wrong with that, and that took me a lot of years to figure out too. Don't get me wrong.
I
So,
was a massive self-sabotager for a long time. You know.
and
My
so,
big one was real quick. Let's share what when we were younger. My big one was if I made one mistake on my diet, I would spend the next 24 hours just being a glutton with shitty food. It was like,
yeah,
it's like basically, oh my God, I got a hangnail. So I'm going to break my leg now. That's basically what I was saying.
yeah,
And I would do it repeatedly. And it was like, it turned into this negative cycle that I had to really work hard to break. So it's to be able to catch that and work against it early is helpful. What would be one for you when you were younger that was hard for you to curb, brother?
Well, there's several. Like, I remember there was a time where I worked graveyards, and you always struggled at first to get to sleep at certain times of the day so that you could get your sleep in and stuff like that. And I'd be laying there frustrated and not being able to go to sleep. So I just stay up and play video games and do whatever because I couldn't sleep. And then I would get so frustrated about that, and I would let it affect me instead of laying in bed and meditating and then just calming myself, and eventually falling asleep. I would get more and more frustrated with myself for not going to sleep, and then end up
trying, for that matter.
Right. Or making it worse by actively doing things that stimulate you, which was my problem. And so instead of getting like 6 to 8 hours of sleep that afternoon, when I could do it, I was home. Instead of finding ways to calm myself and get that to happen, I kept overstimulating myself. And then I get maybe 3 hours of sleep and had to go through the whole next day that way. And
brutal. I just had one of those. Lack of sleep will really, being on point with low sleep. It's so easy to make poor decisions when you're low on sleep.
And bad mistakes, and not be able to enunciate well or talk properly. Word recall, stuff like that. When you're thinking of things and trying to talk to people, it gets really, really rough and really foggy. So it was kind of like one of those things where I just self-sabotaged out of frustration, and
you're talking about language. That's what I was. That's what I would do. And it's just with food,
Yeah, and I would do it with sleep, and it's kind of one of those things where you eventually figure out, well, this is getting me nowhere. I need to take a new process through this, and you let it go. I mean, there's certain times where you want to get fired up and ready to go through things and ready to plow through things. But there's also times you need to take adverse situations and sit back and relax through them, find your way through them, and move forwards in a different way. And not everything is attack full speed all the time. And that's also an issue. There's ways of handling problems without attacking full speed. So
100%. And all of this we're talking about, because all of this leads back to kind of a mental strategy to be consistent. Because when something happens out of our control, we get frustrated, we self-sabotage. What happens? We don't do the shit we need to do. And that's what this whole live stream is about, is helping you guys be accountable, helping you guys, show up to the gym, helping you guys show up for your meals, helping you show up for your sleep. And so you see how, this is like a deep root of what Nick and I have really learned to do to keep ourselves consistent. Wouldn't you agree, brother?
Yes. And it's consistency, consistency, and consistency. It's the discipline to do it all the time. And then part of the discipline, though, is when you're going to run into something always that's going to throw you off. Getting your car stolen, not sleeping enough, going off your diet and then eating way too much. There's always going to be something that's going to put you in a downward spiral. When you get into that downward spiral, relax, realize, think, am I going into a downward spiral? Start thinking about things like that. Am I going into a downward spiral? Now, this took me decades to figure out, by the way. And
100%, brother. Isn't it crazy how long it takes us to break these patterns?
Yeah. And eventually you're like, I'm kind of idiot. I keep acting this way when these things keep happening. And this could happen in relationships with people too. People will sit there and just keep poking at you and pushing your buttons. And then you explode. Well, at some point that's going to happen enough, and you're going to realize somebody is pushing at your buttons. That makes it a them issue, not a you issue. You can control that, and you can choose not to do that and just remove yourself from that situation. That is I feel like a moron because that took me forever to figure out. But
brother, I don't think we ever fully figured that one out. It's a work in progress.
Well, it's always a work in progress, but
because there's always some new personality that we haven't quite seen before.
Oh boy. So, but you figure things out and you start going through those levels, and you can feel the notch is going up, and then you go, wait a minute, been here, done this. This doesn't turn out well if I keep following in this. Let's stop this and move down a little bit.
Yep.
So,
yep. You know, one of the things that helped me, brother, and I'm wondering if you had something similar. So I created myself I think a mantra. Is that a mantra? Mantra. I don't know how, mantra.
Mantra.
Goodness gracious.
It's okay.
I just finished squatting. My brain's still calming down. But I would have this little saying, this mantra that I would say. And basically because it's almost like you make a mistake, you're bleeding, so to speak, right? I'm cut, I'm bleeding. So I would remind myself, look, stop the bleeding.
Yes.
Don't bleed to death. Stop the bleeding. You know, it's if you're bleeding, like put that in a real sense. If you cut yourself with a knife, the last thing you're going to do, let's say you cut your finger, you're doing some meal prep. You're not going to take that knife and stick it in your neck. Well, that's what we're doing when we do this dumb shit. Yeah. And so when you put it in like these really, for me, extreme things make sense to me. And so okay, stop the bleeding. It's just, the finger's not the problem. The problem is when I jam that thing in my neck. Now I may bleed to death. And so find a mantra that speaks to you. And I don't know why that one spoke to me, but it really helped. Did you have something like that?
Yeah, mine was just like, relax, think about what's going on. Like I said, I can feel things climbing on a notch. Where you do that, I feel things climbing on a notch level. It's like tick, 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 tick. I start getting up here. I'm like, wait a minute, why am I here?
Like a boa constrictor just slowly cutting off your air.
Right. I'm like, why am I up here? What am I doing? Why am I allowing this? Start bringing this back down. And okay, here I can handle the problem. Here I'm going to create 1,000 problems by losing my shit. Down here,
brother, you just said something really fucking powerful. Talk about this, please. You said, I allowed this to happen.
Yeah.
That's so key. People talk about that, please.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, you either give people the power to push your buttons and get you up here, or you don't. And then they can say and do all these things over here, and they're going to keep getting frustrated because it's not working. But you allow this to climb up here. So don't allow it to climb up here. Get it back down here and handle the situation in a different way. Because if I let it go up here, I'm going to create all kinds of problems. I'm going to look like the bad guy no matter what I do, even if I'm in the right. And so you start bringing that level down here and you just remove yourself from the situation. Now you have no problem. Because if you're not here for somebody to start picking at, you just bring it down here and off you're gone. And then the problem's over. And you don't go through some of the problems.
Think of it too. That's what Nick just describes when another person's involved. But sometimes there's no other person. It's just you. And you've allowed yourself to get in a position where you've made enough excuses where you're not doing your meal prep because you made too many excuses. Or so you've allowed yourself to get into this place where you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Because here's the thing. What you think about, you're going to get more of. Like, let's just say it's 4:30. You normally go to the gym at 5. And all of a sudden you start thinking of reasons why you shouldn't go to the gym. You set your brain in that motion. Your brain's going to come back in 20 minutes with a whole list of other reasons why you shouldn't go. Versus you think of, well, maybe I should go to the gym. I'm going to feel better. I know it's going to, it's going to help me, be a better person. I'm going to be getting stronger. Next 20 minutes, your brain's brought you a whole bunch of more reasons why you should go. So just remember, when you've allowed that to happen, it's really you've allowed yourself to start thinking about the shit you shouldn't be thinking about, because you're going to get more of that, whether you realize it or not.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And so, and like me, I'll run into time constraints sometimes. It's like, okay, well, this is my workout time. I need to get going, but I'm only going to have this much time. So do I really want to get into that and have to stop and then come back later, or just that's it for the day? And at the end of the day, it's better to get the short workout in and get it done than skip it. So
it's better to get some work than no work.
Correct. So it's one of those things. You're like, okay, well, this week I'm going to get 2/3 of this done. I'll pick up the other third either later in the day, or that's what I get this week. And the thing though is the next week you come in, you're more motivated to get the better workout in anyway, but you still get the work in, you still get consistency, and you still continually keep growing. Is it the optimal thing? No, but you control what you control to the best of your ability. Plain and simple.
And really what it comes down to, that's what it comes down to right there, guys, is that you recognize the things that you can control. You put your effort there and you don't get caught up in the stuff you can't control. It's going to take you off track. What are the words of wisdom for the day, brother?
Control the controllables and find your inner peace with dealing with adverse situations. And a lot of times you don't have to explode to get your point across. Sometimes speaking calmly and softly, yet direct to the problem, get your point across far more than somebody's willing to say or do. Sometimes that'll cut deeper because the person will have a comeback. Well, he was erratical. He was acting irritated. He was acting this. He was doing all these things. Whereas if you come in and point direct to the problem and say it, not in a mean way, but in a direct way. Here's my problem, and here's why. Why did this happen? And
well, sorry, I thought you were done, brother. Go finish, please.
Go. No, it's going to give you a much better way to handle the situation because now they don't have a rebuttal of he was out of control.
Yes, and you know what?
Or
What Nick said is it's so true. But you know what? That also works with that voice inside your head.
Very much so.
Because when it comes down to it, I would have to venture to say, and goodness, we get started on this, we'll have to save this for another episode. But we have more problems with the voices inside our heads than we have with the voices that are outside, external voices, the people around us.
This is true. This is
so.
Very true.
That being said, we talked to some really cool shit here, everybody, and just remember, this is about different methodology to make it easier. And for those of you that are here checking us out, man, we love it. And if you want to check out what we're doing with our coaching, there's a link below in the description. But most importantly, we've made it extremely affordable, and you get a 7-day free trial because, again, we want to make sure it's good for you. Because if you don't want to get big and lean, it might not be for you.
Right, you get more athletic. You'll be able to do other things too.
I don't know. I don't really know who doesn't want that for the most part, but there are people.
Well, you're also just going to be healthier as well. You're going to be able to do things as you get older. And that's the main thing. Your quality of life at the end of the day will be better. And that's what we 100%. Want. We want the quality of life as we age to be better.
That's it. Well, there you have it, everyone. That being said, we will see you next week, same time, same place. And remember, we are here to be accountable to first ourselves, then each other, and to you guys. Have a killer Sunday.
Yeah, go get them. And happy Memorial Day, everybody.
Is it Memorial Day?
Tomorrow, yeah.